This is our problem. So it's called array partition. So given an integer array nums of two integers, group these integers in pairs such that a1 comma b1 a2 comma b2. Those two numbers could be any number inside the array. It doesn't matter the order or anything, but such that the sum of the min of a1 and ai comma bi for all I is maximized. So we have to return the maximized sum. So what it means is that we have to we have to find all possible pairings in the first place. So we have to ignore the order of the elements. So it could be 1 comma 4 1 comma 3 1 comma 2, or it could be 4 comma 3 4 comma 2, or it could be 3 comma 2. So these are the all possible pairing of elements. And one more thing I have noticed is that 1 comma 4 we can't again write 4 comma 3. It shouldn't be repeated. So all the numbers must be unique. So we have 1 comma 4 and we have 2 comma 3, and out of 1 comma 4 we have 1 is minimum and 2 comma 3 2 is minimum. So we have to just add it and we get 3. Similarly for any two pairs, we have to see for any two pairs we have to consider that and then see, and we see that the maximum possible sum is 4 because the other two additions are just 3, which is not maximum. So the maximum possible is 4 over here. And this is also another example where we have how many integers do we have inside this? We have 6. So array size is 6, and the optimal pairing we have to find out. The optimal pairing would be 2 comma 1 and 2 comma 5 6 comma 6. There are two 2's here, there are two 6's as well, and so when we find the minimum of all these pairs and then add it together, we get 9. So how do they even come to this sort of conclusion? So we can just solve it in Java. First, we see that what approach we are going to take. This is, for example, this is our array, and we have to sort it first. So once we sort it, we see that each element is actually the smallest and the largest it will ever be for the at that moment. So there's two, and after we proceed on to the next element, we see that that is the least element, considering 2 and 3. And 3, when we consider 3, we see that 3 is the least element considering 3 and 4. So we have to arrange it in ascending order by using sort of function, and it also means that if we take two elements in order, so first element will always be the smallest. So what it means is that when we take any two elements, not any two elements, here after sorting we have to just take two elements, like group it. For example, this will be our first group and this will be our second group. So in the first group, we see that 1 comma 2 and this is 3 comma 4. First group, the 1 is the smallest element, and the second group, the 3 is the smallest element. So when we keep on grouping, we see that the first element is always the smallest element after sorting, and when we group it, we see that the first element is always the smallest among the two. So we can just use this finding, and we can just manipulate it, and we can come to a conclusion. So what we are actually doing here is we are ignoring the second element over here. So we are ignoring 2, and here also we are ignoring the second element of the second group, which is 4. So we have to ignore 2 and 4, and similarly if there's a number of 6, suppose there's a number 6 here and there's a number 7 here, and we'll just group it together, right? And we have to just ignore the 7. We're just going to ignore 7 and we'll take 6. So how do we find the alternate pairs, like 1 3 6 alternate numbers? So we have to just add the sum of the alternate numbers so that we can get our maximum possible sum. So we have to ignore every second element we have to ignore. So we can just do this by not writing I plus plus. Instead we can just write I plus I is equal to I plus 2. So our incrementing value will be 2. That's what we're going to do here. So every second element, we're just going to ignore every second element. So 2 is ignored, 4 is ignored, and then after we ignore every second element, we see that we get 1 and 3. That is, 1 is the minimum out of 1 and 2, and 3 is the minimum out of 3 and 4 after cutting off 2 and 4. So we just add 1 and 3 together, and then we get our maximum sum as 4. So we can just even take another example. For example, this number, and it contains an odd number of integers. That doesn't matter because we're grouping by 2 and 3 gets left alone, and then we just ignore 2. We're going to ignore 5, we're going to ignore 9. We just add 1 plus 4 plus 6 and we get 11, which is actually our answer. So what we're doing here is we are sacrificing 2 for 1, and we are sacrificing 5 for 4 and 9 for 6. So we'll just sacrifice the larger numbers, and then we're just going to take the smaller numbers, and the complexity for this will be one order of n log n, because we're going to use array dot sort of. So going back to our code, we can just write mm, array dot. We're going to sort our nums array. It is an array of integers. So after sorting, we will write int min sum will be initialized to 0 first, and then further on we can manipulate our min sum by going inside a for loop. Int I is equal to 0. We start from, we declare a new variable I, and then we initialize it to 0, and from 0th index we will just go until nums dot length, that is the length of our array, and we'll go until the end, and then we will just this is the most important part, we have to increment it by 2. That means not by 1 but by 2. That means every second element um, will be gone. It will just be ignored. And then other than that, all the elements will be added to min sum. So that will be so nums of I. So we'll just add our first elements of each group, and after we add it, finally after adding everything and traversing through our entire array, we will just return min sum. So now we have returned min sum, and we are passing, what we were basically doing here is we're going to pass an array over here, which is int array, and our array name is nums. So this is nums actually input. So our array contains many integers, and finally what we have to do is we have to sort our array, then we have to initialize min sum, then after that we are going to go inside a for loop, and then we're just going to add the first element of each group. That is we are going to ignore the second elements of each group, and then we're just going to take the first one, because that will be the minimum of the both the elements, because we have already sorted. So obviously the first element will be the most minimum, and then we will just return min sum, and that return min sum will just will just be printed inside our output. So that will be an integer as well. So we can just run code and see. Okay, arrays, sorry, it has to be plural. So now we see we have passed all our test cases. So thank you for watching.